the thought of conflict kind of freak you out? If your partner says, I want to talk, do you immediately go to, oh, this is going to be terrible? Does this stress you out? And do you immediately want to shut things down when that happens? If so, this video is for you. These are 5 tips for those who are conflict avoidant, okay? Let me just very quickly explain what conflict avoidant is for those of you who might not know the term. But essentially, in relationships, there are going to be times where you guys are not on the same page and there's a conflict, meaning you do not agree on something or someone has an issue with something. When you are in that situation, you're going to have one of 2 responses naturally. You are either going to say, okay, here's an opportunity to come up with a solution, and you're going to have the conversation, and having the conversation gives me the feeling of relief. It's letting all the uncomfortable air out of the balloon, okay? So that is somebody who's not conflict avoidant. Okay, someone said definitely conflict avoidant. So if you are conflict avoidant, the idea of having a discussion sounds as fun as a root canal. You're like, I will do anything to get out of this discussion. You might even just say anything to shut your partner up because you're like, I don't want to deal with this. It is excruciating. So let me know if you are conflict avoidant in the comments by saying yes to keep it simple, or no, you are not conflict avoidant. Okay, so I'm going to do this video from the perspective of the conflict avoidant person. A lot of times, you guys, I feel in what I read about you, there is a lot of anger towards conflict avoidance. I'm not a conflict avoidant person, so I've done a lot of research on this. But there are like angry mobs out there who really struggle dealing with a conflict avoidant person. And so what you have to understand is for a person who is conflict avoidant, for them to have peace, you are going to trigger your partner. For the person who is not conflict avoidant, you are going to trigger your partner if you have peace. For example, this would be like a fish who needs water to live and a mammal who lives on land. If you have the mammal underwater for a long period of time, it is going to be in distress and it's going to be fighting to try to breathe. If you have a fish on the land for the same amount of time, it is going to be struggling being on the land trying to breathe. Okay, so conflict avoidant person feels better when the conversation stops. The person who is not conflict avoidant feels better when the situation is resolved and talked about. So they feel more at peace talking about it if things are moving forward. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you guys want to vote. One person said they're conflict avoidant. So let me know, yes, you are conflict avoidant, or no, you are not conflict avoidant. Okay. So I got my notes here. So if you see me looking to the side, that's why. Okay. For a person who is conflict avoidant, and I hope the person who's with somebody who's conflict avoidant or maybe dated someone in the past watches this and gets value from this. But I want to give you, as the conflict avoidant person, tools on what you can do. Okay. So somebody who is a conflict avoidant, they are overwhelmed. They feel like the conversation is invasive and it's like threatening them. Okay. They feel like, a lot of times I feel like it's an attack as well. But it feels like a threat. It feels almost scary. Okay. So there's like, oh, the natural instinct for this person is to withdraw. They are going to want to shut down. It's like, oh, I'm going to protect myself. Kind of like a kid going under the table, in an earthquake. Like, I'm going to protect myself. And a lot of times they want to avoid addressing the issue. Like, let's just not talk about it. I just want to have peace, whatever. So for them, they're totally fine just not addressing it. So this is what I would recommend. And I have 5 pieces of advice for the person who does struggle with conflict. Recognize your instinct and your pattern. Identify. So the first step, you know the title for it now. You are a conflict avoidant person. And there's a whole community out there. Okay. Oh, by the way, so she said they feel there are too many words used. I have a solution for that. I actually did a video previously about what to do if you're with a conflict avoidant person to help them feel like they are drowning less. So hopefully you can find that helpful. Okay, so the first thing, if you are conflict avoidant, is recognize this behavior. I am a conflict avoidant person. And notice when you start feeling this urge to withdraw and shut down. So many times in life, we just move on autopilot and we are reactive. When you start doing the work, to use the therapy terms, you don't just you don't just experience emotions, you are aware that you're experiencing these emotions, and you start to become emotionally intelligent. So instead of just freaking out, you go, okay, this is one of those moments. This is step one. I'm recognizing that I'm in this pattern, and you start to see exactly what's leading to it. So you might feel the urge to withdraw. You might feel the urge to shut down. You have to notice it first, yourself, okay? Then you ask yourself, am I doing this to truly maintain peace and I'm trying to, protect the relationship, or am I trying to get out of being uncomfortable? Am I doing this to avoid discomfort? Okay? Very important. And doing the work requires you to be honest with yourself. Am I uncomfortable, or do I really think this is better for the betterment of the relationship? The third thing, and we're still on number one, is that understand that if there is conflict in a healthy relationship, it doesn't mean danger or that you are going to lose control. Now, this is what's really important. I'm not a therapist, so I'm not going to try to go into that. Perfect. Please put that question in the question queue, hit the plus sign, because I want to answer that and not forget. But they'll float up the comment river. So please put that in there and don't forget. So a lot of times you might have a subconscious association with conflict. For example, let's say that in your childhood, you had a parent who was extremely emotional, and if anything didn't go their way, they were just volatile. Like they would get angry, or maybe they would punish you emotionally, meaning normally they're really affectionate and loving and sweet, or they had promised to take you to the park or whatever. And now, because you upset them, they switch it up. Okay? That, in my opinion, I'm not a therapist, that is traumatizing. That teaches you conflict is bad. Conflict means there are going to be repercussions. Repercussions should be for like bad behavior. A kid draws on the wall with crayons, knowing he's not supposed to do that. There should be consequences, and you associate disobeying with consequences. Not, I just upset my parent because this bothered her that I asked this question, or bothered him that I asked this question. I hope that makes sense, okay? By the way, if anyone else has questions, go ahead and pop that question in there. What's it called? Drop your question in the queue so that I can go ahead and ask that or answer that. So you have to recognize in this moment that I'm experiencing this. I feel like, something in my body is saying fight or flight. Well, it's saying to go flight, and realize that this is just something that's happening in regards to your style of communication. Yes, attachment styles too, absolutely. Because you have a conflict, you have an anxious attachment, you have avoidant attachment, and this comes along with avoidant a lot as well. Okay? So, and again, let me say this. I'm talking about a healthy environment. If your partner screams at you when you're having a conflict, a discussion about a conflict, screams at you, raises their voice at you, calls you names, ridicules you, that is not a healthy relationship, and this does not apply. Okay? So if you are not the conflict avoidant person and you're like, we're just having a discussion, but in reality, you're screaming at them, you're raising your voice, you're calling them names, you're ridiculing them, you're weaponizing their vulnerability, this video is not for you. Go on, scroll on TikTok, do something else. Okay? But this is for healthy communication, where two people are mature and they are calmly discussing information. Okay? Thank you, sis. So number one, you have to recognize as the conflict avoidant person, make sure that you recognize, okay, it's happening. And thank you guys. So people keep coming in, and you guys help me remind them in the comments if they're new. Please put your question in the question queue so I can answer them all during the Q&A, because I don't want to lose them up the comment river, and also lose my train of thought as I'm talking. But these are good questions. I can see them as they're coming in. Just hit the plus sign. So the first thing, as a conflict avoidant person, recognize this is happening. Okay, this is happening. It's okay. I know. I heard Yancey's live stream. I've done my research, whatever. This is what's happening. And I'm realizing I'm triggered and I have this flight sensation. I want to get rid of this. Am I doing it because I'm uncomfortable, or am I doing it because I really think the relationship will be better if we don't have this conversation? Okay. And also remind yourself, I'm in a safe space. I have a partner who loves me. They don't mean me harm, and I'm not going to be yelled at. I'm not going to be screamed at. I'm not going to be made fun of. This is a conversation, and you have to talk to your inner child and say, it's okay. Number 2, you communicate that you need space without disappearing. You communicate. This is why step 1 is so important. You have to recognize that it's happening so that you can consciously make the decision. Instead of being like, I'm done, and walking away, you could say, woo, you're feeling it first. It's happening internally. I'm feeling it. I'm triggered. And then you now open your mouth and you say, ooh, I need a minute to process this, because that's what's happening. Your emotions are clouding your ability to process the information. Okay? So you're feeling overwhelmed. Just like if somebody came in with flashing lights and noises and all that, we would be disoriented, right? For us who are not conflict avoidant, we would be disoriented. For them, it's disorienting, and they need to take a moment to push through all of their emotions and process what's happening. But again, if I go back to the example, one person's a fish, one person's a land animal. Understand that as the fish, you're saying, I need to go back in the water. You're saying, I need a moment to myself. You're asking the land animal, because you guys are attached together, you're asking the land animal to go underwater. So realize that the amount of time it's taking you to stay underwater submerged so you can breathe, because you're a fish and that's what you needed. The other person's going, oh my God, they're freaking out. So realize you're asking them to do something that's really triggering their nervous system. Does this make sense what I'm saying? I hope this makes sense what I'm saying. So what I recommend is that you express this and you let the person know, look, this isn't about you. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm not trying to abandon you, because that's what gets triggered in them. You're saying, I just need a moment to process. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Most people who are anyway loving are not going to take that and feel attacked, okay? It's going to cause them to have to work on controlling their emotions, because it's triggering for us having to wait to resolve it, because that gives us peace. But they're not going to be mad at you if you say, I just need a moment to process my emotions. Now, here's the third thing. Number 3, set a time to revisit the issue. This is where you have to be honest with yourself and say, am I weaponizing this timeout? So if you're the fish and you go, I just want to go in the water, and your land animal partner is tethered to you, you would never just be like, we're just going to swim around the ocean now. You would let them know, okay, hold your breath for 60 seconds. And then that land animal goes, okay, I think I can hold my breath for 60 seconds. And they go under there and they're trying to be patient. When that 60 seconds comes up, they're going to be hanging on by a thread. So you better get back to that conversation at that point. Okay? So I love this metaphor. Don't let a lot of time go by. Your partner will feel neglected. Your partner will feel like you don't care about their feelings, because they feel resolution and peace when the conversation is had. So what you could say is, hey, you know what? Let's check back in tonight after dinner. Or, can we circle back tomorrow after I've had a chance to gather my thoughts? Whatever that time is, but make it specific. Don't say later. We'll come back to this later. We're going to say when, after dinner, maybe after breakfast, something like that. This builds trust and it keeps the conversation productive. It also keeps the partner who's not conflict avoidant from feeling there's a lot of gray area, and it keeps them from feeling like a nag. Can we talk now? Can we talk now? Can we talk now? Can we talk now? They can go, okay, I'm going to put this out of my mind, because I know there's a set time that we're going to come back to this and there's going to be resolution. Okay. Number 4, these are 5 things that a conflict avoidant person can do to not piss off your partner and also have peace within, because this is all about having peace and not feeling like you're totally out of your comfort zone, right? Let me know, guys, is this making sense? Okay, so number 5, you're going to practice just small steps of engagement. All right. We're not going to expect you to just have the whole conversation, but have little steps. So if you start verbalizing small thoughts that you are having, this is going to help your partner. So instead of saying, I don't want to talk about this, you could say, I hear you. I'm just feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Okay, good. I know this is a little different and a little departure from what I normally talk about. So I want to make sure this is resonating. So good. For me, it was so helpful to understand the perspective of the person who shut down, because I always saw it as they don't care about me. If they cared about me, they would push through. not realizing this person feels like they are flailing. So when I learned that the person is under distress and they're literally having a hard time processing and it's making them feel overwhelmed and anxious, then I have a little bit of empathy. That doesn't make me not need resolution, but it helps me to take the personalness out of it and feel like I'm better equipped to give them time. And I could say something reassuring like, take that time. When are we circling back and have this conversation? Okay. A lot of times avoidance will see conflict as something that just needs to be ended as opposed to something that can be resolved. So let's say, for example, I don't think grown people should be fighting, right? I would never be like, okay, let's have a fist fight. But if somebody said, this is a silly example, having this fist fight is going to resolve whether or not we do A or B, then it's like, okay, I can push through because we need to know, I don't know, maybe we're Neanderthals and we need to know who's the next village leader, and it's the fight, the fittest guy wins. Okay, then there's some resolution. For a conflict avoidant person, it just feels like it's happening just because. So this is why, and I hope you watch the other video from the other side, what you can do to not trigger the conflict avoidant person. Part of that, I'll just get into that, is if you stay solution oriented. They don't want to feel like we're just circling a drain. You can use verbiage and show them it's solution oriented. And like I said, there are a couple of things that you can do to help them feel like we're not going to be out of breath for 10 minutes at a time, right? Going back to the fish analogy and the land animal analogy. Number 7, this is so important for both people, how you deal with conflict. 7 is work on your emotional regulation. It is not okay to just feel the feelings and then expect our partner to adapt. At some point, you have to learn to control. And I'll have a moment of transparency. I had a situation where I am so embarrassed. Like if I was on TMZ, I would have died because I don't like how I get when I'm beyond triggering. And I like to say, these are my boundaries, these are my things, and just don't cross them and you'll always get the softer side of Sears. Well, what happens if a person crosses those boundaries? I don't want to turn into a nut job. I don't want to have the excuse, well, they crossed my boundaries and you gonna get what you gonna get. I didn't like that. And so there was this epiphany where I said, you know what? It's not that I have emotional self-control. I'm 100% relying on the other person not stepping on my triggers, not triggering me. I said, to me, the next level is being able to control myself even when I'm triggered. And obviously, if there's a person who just tap dances on my triggers despite me telling them, then I shouldn't be with them. But within reason, there are going to be times where you are triggered, even with the best intended partner, because that other person is also imperfect and they are going to do things at times that trigger you, whether they mean to or not. So I started to work on emotional self-control. And so this is what number 7 is. Practice breathing techniques or mindfulness when you feel overwhelmed. So if you've taken that first step to go, oh, I realize that my emotions are building. This is not a neutral thing anymore. I'm feeling this. You then express to your partner, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Can I take a moment? You can practice breathing techniques. And I won't go into details because you can Google them. There's so many things you can look at on YouTube or whatever. For me, I found that listening to music, especially praise music, is very helpful because especially if you sing along, you're forcing your breathing to become more natural as you're singing along. And then, of course, you have the spiritual aspects, shifting the atmosphere when you're all upset. So you have to do something proactive to calm yourself down. Other people might go for a walk or something of that nature. Okay. Another thing is maybe you journal your thoughts so you can help to organize your emotions before you speak. Why am I so angry? I know that I'm angry. I'm pissed. Like, I'm ready to just punch through a wall. But what is it? And start to journal out what it is. Well, I felt like you were deceitful, or I felt like you didn't consider me, or whatever. Start to journal and figure out, why are you feeling emotional? So this is what you could be doing productively during the downtime, not just using it as an out to say, oh, let's talk about this later. That's not an excuse to just go watch the game or whatever. You want to actually start processing what you're feeling. True peace comes from resolution. Okay? You resolve the conflict and not avoid it. Your body is telling you that avoiding it is the best thing for you. That is not true. That is the trick of the enemy. You want to learn how to resolve conflicts. Okay? Not fighting for the sake of fighting, but having discussions for the purpose of resolving conflict. The next thing, understand number 8. I said 5 things, there's 9 things. I'm so sorry. Number 8, recognize that avoidance can hurt your partner. You probably picked it up by now that the conflict avoidant person is usually always with the person who is not avoiding conflict and they actually like to dive right in and resolve it. This really stresses out your partner and it makes them feel like they are disconnected from you. It makes them feel like they are unloved. It makes it feel like you don't care to hear them. And especially if it's a woman who's the one who wants to resolve the conflict, we feel loved when we feel heard. If we are feel heard and seen, it makes us feel like you think that our thoughts and feelings are valid. And if you're not willing to listen to us, you are doing the opposite. You're trying to get us to shut down our thoughts and feelings. It says to our brains, we are not loved. Because if we were loved, he would care to know what I'm thinking and feeling. And therefore, he would then know how to better make me feel loved in the future. So understand that your avoidance is not just you protecting yourself emotionally. It's actually hurting your relationship. Number 9, and the final tip, learn and trust that your partner can handle your emotions. A lot of times people who are conflict avoidant feel like they are doing a favor to your partner. Look, I'm just trying to keep the peace. I'm just trying not to have drama. I just don't like to fight. You're expressing yourself is not a burden to your partner. Your partner actually appreciates hearing what you have to say. And when you are able to express yourself as women, having a man who can express themselves, I'm going to get gender specific, that is such a turn on. Having an emotionally intelligent man is such a turn on. Being able to say calmly, this is what bothered me. I felt disrespected by this. I felt like you weaponized my vulnerability by saying this. This is helpful. Again, we're talking about within a healthy relationship where it's a safe space. If you have a partner who does not talk to you with respect and kindness, you might not need to be with that partner, but that's not my business, okay? Don't think that, oh, if I share my feelings, I'm doing too much. Your feelings are valid and your partner wants to understand you, okay? So I hope this is helpful. A lot of time, I don't know if people who are conflict avoidant are necessarily searching this out like people who are with a conflict avoidant person are searching this out, but I try to do my best to do this video in an impartial way. And if you are a conflict avoidant person, let me know if this was helpful to you. Let me know if this was eye-opening in any way. Again, I'm curious, only one person said watching this that they are conflict avoidant, but if you tend to want to just shut down when conflicts happen, let me know by saying yes, because I'm really curious to know if people watching this are conflict avoidant and it's helpful. If you are in a relationship with a conflict avoidant person, possibly share this with them, but do it in a loving way, and say that, you know, hey, I really want to see your perspective. Oh, wait, good. So two more people. So they're conflict avoidant. I really wanted to see it from your perspective because I only see conflict from my perspective. And so this video was kind of eye-opening to see your perspective. Would you say that this is true? And, you know, you could present it that way so they don't feel attacked. So cool. Okay. Awesome. So I have a smaller group watching this live, but I know it's the middle of the workday. So hopefully you guys share this with a friend. I'm going to share it on YouTube so it's easier to watch and pause and rewind or whatever. But if you give me 10 minutes, I'm going to post it to my Instagram story so you guys have the link if you missed any parts of it. And I forgot, I said I was going to get to your questions and I just remembered. So let me answer your questions, but I may have already done that. Okay. What if you feel like it's a conflict that should not be had? Okay. Hopefully you're still watching who asked that question. Give me an example of a conflict that you feel should not be had. That would be more helpful if I had a specific. So I hope that you're still watching. Thank you for your patience going to the end. Okay, let's see. How long is too long to process? That is up to the partners. So for me, for example, from a faith perspective, I don't think that something should go overnight. The Bible says, don't let anger go down in your wrath. And usually when there's a conflict, it's very unsettling for me. So I don't want to go to sleep and not have that resolution and like have the air be cleared, so to speak. So for me, I prefer it to be within the same day. I kind of said this jokingly before to a partner. The amount of time that you would not want to, like, think about how short you would want the conflict to be, the discussion to be rather. And then that's the amount of time that I would want the break to be. because you're uncomfortable during the conversation. I'm uncomfortable during the break. So that number should be pretty similar. You know, you shouldn't be expecting a 10-minute conversation, but then have a 12 or 24-hour break. That's a way of kind of just being fair within yourself. Okay. Let's see. This might be an example. I was dating a man, and my boyfriend of 6 months thought that I should have told him about a relationship in great detail because I didn't. He felt like I was deceptive. I was dating a man, and my boyfriend of 6 months thought I should have told. So I'm confused. Are you talking about a guy you were dating for 6 months wanted to know about an ex-boyfriend? Is that what you're saying? I want to make sure I'm clear, because I'm not certain I'm clear. I'm not myself, but certainly have been in a relationship with a person who was and didn't know what to do or how to handle it. Okay, not a problem. Yeah, help me understand. Okay, the next one. Who was it you said that's looking for solutions? That's not the conflict avoidant. Yes, the conflict avoidant wants solutions. So what I mean by that is, yes, ultimately they would just love to just stop the conversation. But if they had the choice between just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking versus like, all right, let's just only talk to the point of getting a solution and moving on, they're going to want the solution. So that's a compromise where, and again, like I really outlined it in that video, but if you focus on here it is, as opposed to like, you did something wrong and this is why I feel so bad about it, and da da da. If you spend less time talking about what happened, past tense, ED, and you're focusing on what is the plan moving forward. So for me and my guy, we try to quickly get it out. This is what bothered me. This is why it pissed me off. This is why it hurt my feelings, whatever. Whew. Now that we got that out of the way quickly, now let's shift gears into solution focus. What do we do in the future to avoid this? Let's focus on that solution. Then it takes it away from being, you did this, now ego is being triggered, and now we're working on what are we facing target-wise? What's the solution moving forward? I would say how to plan dates shouldn't be a conflict, scheduling ahead. How to plan dates shouldn't be a conflict. So, and I'm so sorry. And feel free if you want to come on. You don't have to have your camera on, but it's harder for me to understand what is a conflict. So maybe you can come on the live stream and then just like have your camera turned off if you're not camera ready, or you can come on if you are camera ready. But I'm trying to understand how that is a conflict. So this might be one where I might need you to like verbalize it. So the other answer, I'm currently dating a man of 6 months. He thought I was being deceptive because I did not feel comfortable talking about a relationship of maybe a year ago. Okay. All right. So, now let me go back to what your original statement was so I know what your question is. Okay. I don't think I got your question. So let me know what your question is. So you had a conflict where the guy felt like, you should have told me this information and you didn't think it was necessary. Let me know what the conflict was. And by the way, if anyone else has a question, let me know what your question is. You can drop your question in the question queue, and I will answer it as best I can. I've already addressed these. Okay. There we go. Whoops. Okay. Yep. I think I'm caught up. Any other questions, you can ask them. And the situation with you were describing with the ex, thank you for the more information. I just don't know what the question is, or if there was a question and I missed it, I apologize. Yes, he felt like you were being deceptive. If you might just be sharing that story. I just assumed there was a question, so I apologize if there was a question. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm so sorry I cannot remember your first name, sis. But yes, it's been a long time since I've seen you. Instagram's weird. They don't always show everybody's content. But yeah, I used to always see in all my live streams. All right, guys. So I think that's going to be it for today. I don't see any more questions. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend and have healthy relationships. I want everybody to be able to work through Tish. That's right. I want everyone to be able to work through relationships and enjoy them. Conflict is not a problem. Conflict is actually a sign of a healthy relationship, because you should not have two people who are just completely like mirrors of each other. You have your own thoughts. He has his thoughts, she has her thoughts. It's healthy to have different thoughts. How you work through them is an opportunity to really grow and get better. Okay, do you consider it deceptive? So here's the thing, and I don't mean this in a funny way, My opinion is irrelevant. And what I mean by that is it all depends on what your partner feels is respectful. The thing that's most important in relationships, in my opinion, is that you guys agree on a baseline, because not everything is black or white. Not everything is like a sin or illegal or whatever. It's what you guys agree. The thing is that when you agree on a principle or a baseline, it has to be even on both sides. What's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. So for example, what comes to mind in this scenario that you're described is, why was that man relevant? Is he upset because he thought you were a virgin and so he's shocked that there was somebody else in the picture? That's a scenario, right? Chances are it's probably not the case at our age. So maybe it was you interacted with him. So if there was somebody that you currently interact with, or your current man, that the guy that you're dating has interacted with this guy, now we need to figure out, what is his issue? Was his issue that, oh my God, I was around this guy and I didn't know he used to blow your back out? Or you're currently still around this guy and I didn't know that you had a history with him sexually, and I'm thinking you just dealing with him like any other person. You have to unpack, and this is where asking questions is really important. When a person says something bothers them and they say why it bothers them, the human nature reaction is to just say, but I didn't mean this, or I disagree. When you shift away from a conversation that's about assigning blame and hearing their heart, you then become interested and inquisitive, and you can ask questions. Why do you feel like this is deceptive? What is it that you are concerned about in a worst case scenario? What is it that I can avoid doing going forward that's not specific to this guy, but just in principle? So again, these are the types of things, like if you want to come on and give me more details so I can understand, you can do that, or try to be as thorough in there. But there's usually a reason why the person feels the way they do. For me, I always say, I want to be the person in the room who has the most information when it comes to your past. I never want to be somewhere and everybody around me knows that you slept with this person, or you guys have a kid together, or you guys, I don't know, whatever. Like, I don't want to be the last one to know. And so I have an agreement with my guy. If we go somewhere and he sees someone that there's history with, immediately I'm being told. If we're going somewhere and he knows the person's going to be there, I'm going to know before we even show up. That makes me feel respected. I don't want to feel like I'm the only one who didn't know, or someone else has more information than me. That builds trust with us. So you have to decide with your person what makes them comfortable. She said, all things must be met with a level of emotional maturity, knowing what to ask in the moment. Great advice. Thank you so much. But yeah, if you really look at it like, my partner feels uncomfortable, because when we are on the receiving end of feedback, human nature says, I want to be defensive, ego, right? But when we're on the giving end of feedback, we go, I just want to be heard. I just want them to hear me. So think of it like an object, like you're holding a basket. When you feel like you've been wronged, you're holding this basket and you're reaching this basket out in your hands to your partner in the hopes that they will take that basket and be interested enough to rummage and look what's inside. I have all these feelings. I have all these thoughts. I want to give it to you. Look at it, right? But when you are on the receiving end, you are perceiving this person's taking this basket and hitting you over the head. So you're like, no. So if you can catch yourself and have the emotional intelligence, the emotional maturity to be able to recognize, they're just handing me a basket. This basket is not going to kill me. This basket does not contain a pink slip that says I don't want to be with you anymore. The fact that they're handing me a basket means they trust me with their thoughts and their feelings. So let me be curious. Let me calm down my flesh, if I can go spiritual. Calm down my flesh that's raging and go, this is actually a good thing that they're taking the time to talk to me, because they could be avoiding me and not talk about it at all. So let me sort through. Oh, you felt like there was deception. Man, I can empathize. I can imagine what it would feel like if I sensed deception. That would make me not feel like I could trust. I would begin to feel unsafe. God, that would suck. And now it's not about you anymore. It's about your partner. And that is empathy. Now you don't need to defend. You say, man, I didn't look at it that way. I know I'm not going to be with him anymore, and I know I'm not attracted to him like that anymore, or whatever, but God, that's me. I'm in my own head. I don't know what it feels like for you, but I can imagine. You talk about like relationships evolving and mature, like your partner will feel so good if there was somebody like that. Stopping and looking at things from someone else's perspective is everything. And this is why I go back to what I said for years. Pride and self-centeredness are two things that are a cancer to relationship. If you are with a person who is prideful, their ego drives them, or they are self-centered and selfish, I personally don't think that you can ever have a satisfying relationship with them, because ego will keep them from saying things that they know they should say. It's there. They're convicted. They're like, but I'm not sure in it. They're never going to do it because ego is more important than the relationship. And self-centeredness is I have blinders on, so I can't even see the whole picture because I am so laser focused on myself and my needs and my desires and my wants and my ego that I can't see. This person could be doing acrobatics and have a PowerPoint presentation, but I can't see it because I have blinders from my self-centeredness. You can't be in a relationship with a person who physically can't see you. I can't see the camera anymore because I have blinders. I need to take them off and be able to see what's around me if I'm actually going to be a loving and helpful partner. Doesn't matter how loving I feel, I'm not going to be a loving partner if I have blinders on and I'm only focused on my perspective and what I need. So when we are defensive, we are being self-centered. We are saying, I am only focused on making sure I don't look bad in your eyes, which means I can't then be focused on the pain that you're going through, whether it's real or perceived. All right. Okay, let me put this on YouTube. I will talk with you next time. Make sure if you wanted to get in my coaching program, my March group enrollment is open. March group starts March 5th. So you want to make sure you have time to do a discovery call. I do a 30-minute call with everybody who's interested in enrolling just to make triple sure that this is a program for you, because it's an investment. I want to make sure you're getting exactly what you need and it's a good fit for you. So schedule that call. If you're curious, just schedule. There's no obligation. Go to the link in my bio, click the dating manual. It's my 8-week coaching program, and then schedule a discovery call. And then you will get linked to my calendar, and then you are going to be able to see if it's a good fit. We'll have a 30-minute call, and then you'll either sign up or you won't. But I only have 5 spots left. All right. So I will see you guys later. Again, those of you watching live on Instagram, I'm going to post the link in my story in just a few minutes as soon as it downloads, and then I'm going to post it on YouTube. All right. I look forward to talking to you. Send me a DM, Twisted Sister. Okay. 3329. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.